From the 1300s through the 1500s, Italian culture expanded drastically, a time referred to as the Italian Renaissance, or Italian rebirth. During this time, intellectuals began to focus more on abstract ideas, like philosophy and art, that required and encouraged free thinking. A great importance lay on literature, mainly Greek and Latin, which created a foundation for the emerging arts. This cultural movement affected everything from architecture to alchemy. One man, a painter, stands out among the many artists who broke out during this pivotal time in art. A man by the name of Alessandro da Mariano di Vanni Filippelli. We know him as the great Sandro Botticelli. Sandro Botticelli was born in Florence, Italy, around 1444-1445, during the peak of the Renaissance. As a child, Sandro was said to be a very hyperactive boy with a busy mind. Giorgio Vasari, the author of The Great Masters, said, "Although he found it easy to learn whatever he wished, nevertheless he was ever restless, nor was he contented with any form of learning, whether reading, writing, or arithmetic." His father, Mariano Filippelli, a tanner, noticed his son's struggle to be still, so he attempted to keep him busy after he had graduated his schooling by employing him out. At his father's request, Sandro first tried as a goldsmith with his older brother. When that failed, Sandro's father introduced him to a painter, and his life forever changed. Because Sandro began his teachings at such a young age, he was considered far more educated than many of his fellow artists. At the ripe age of 14, Sandro began his lifelong affair with painting. He became an apprentice to Master Fra Filippo Lippi, who took a special liking to Sandro. Vasari said of their relationship, "Thereupon, devoting himself heart and soul to that art, Sandro followed and imitated his master so well that Fra Filippo, growing to love him, taught him very thoroughly, so that he soon rose to such a rank as none would have expected for him." Filippo, a distinguished painter of the Quattrocento and a pivotal influence on Botticelli, was previously a Carmelite friar who gave up his religious obligations to pursue his passion of painting. His work consists of many religious altarpieces and frescoes that feature his stylistic use of strong lines, soft light, delicate shadows, and dedication to detail. Filippo uses color to emphasize the central theme, which also creates a subtle distinction among characters. Although his paintings are majorly religious, their godlike details are known as more humanistic than celestial. His focus and detail on human expression is a precursor to what Botticelli accomplishes years later. Filippo's student, the talented Sandro Botticelli, was gifted beyond what many thought possible of a boy of his mindset. Sandro's evident passion and skill were what led Lippi to teach him beyond his normal instructions. For almost 9 years, Filippo taught the boy all he knew about composition, frescoes, and how to properly mix colors. Lippi taught Botticelli closely and carefully, and eventually, Botticelli became one of his most distinguished learners. Lippi and Botticelli's work was so similar during his apprenticeship that some pieces remain to be properly identified. Filippo Lippi died in 1469, forever leaving his mark on the art world. In 1470, at the age of 25, Sandro Botticelli began his own workshop. At that same time, he was also completing the painting Fortitude, his first recorded painting. Much like Filippo Lippi, Sandro's paintings focused on the human form. Though some of his paintings contain both male and female subjects, most of his more famous pieces are of women. His style is considered Florentine Renaissance, but he incorporated bits of Romanticism, Classicalism, and antiquity. Botticelli's use of linear perspective, or depth, is a signature style of the Italian Renaissance. More than anything, his paintings reflect his attention to detail. His work includes many religious depictions, but also nature and mythology. Regardless of the thematic tones, Botticelli reaches a level of sensuousness unlike any other artist. Venus, for example, is the subject of one of his most notable paintings, The Birth of Venus. Venus is a symbol of the fruitfulness of nature and love, and is also a revered character in Greek mythology. In his paintings, she is a tall, sumptuous form with long and flowing hair. Her naked body is the center of the masterpiece. Another subject of interest is the Virgin Mary, a prominent religious character that is the central focus of many of his works. Her soft, unsmiling face holds the same expression in each painting, a look of virtue and calm. The artist's romantic side is evident in his depiction of the human form. He dedicates astonishing detail to faces, folds in the skin, the contours of muscles, and the flow of hair. Trademarks of Botticelli's paintings include round, long forms of the body, distended stomachs, soft and supple-looking flesh, and immaculate detail. He perfected skin tones using warm colors and brown shadows, but uses dark, sharp lines to capture form such as around the face and hands. These distinct lines capture the emotion of expressions, such as in Venus and Mars, where Venus's face is dignified and calm, and Mars is clearly peaceful and without care as he lounges. His success at encapsulating expression is what defines his noteworthy portraits. Each face tells a story. Botticelli's general use of color, both contrasting and complementary, is unmatched. His use of color and composition seem to work in harmony, allowing the main subject to come to view at first glance. The lighting used in his paintings sets the characters apart from the background. Light is used to create a glow on the exposed flesh, producing a seemingly smooth and divine appearance. Fabrics of soft satin or lace are so detailed, it's as though they can be touched. Much of Filippo and Botticelli's notoriety can be attributed to the Medici family. The Medici family, a dynasty of educated wealthy bankers, held great control in parts of Italy throughout the 14th and 15th centuries. They commissioned numerous reputable artists like Lippi, Botticelli, and Michelangelo to decorate family tombs, the Medici Palace halls, and various other projects. The Medici family, mainly Lorenzo the Magnificent, was extremely influential during the Italian Renaissance as he revived the love for the arts, including sculptures, paintings, and architecture. As a lover of the arts himself, Lorenzo became a great patron and supporter of local artists. Many popular works were commissioned under Lorenzo and the Medici family, like the Statue of David, the Sistine Chapel, and the Birth of Venus. The Medici family steadily employed Filippo until his dying years, and Botticelli for most of his career. As another important painter employed by the Medici family, Botticelli was presented opportunities from all over. Though his style is essentially a constant throughout his career, the preferences of the patrons who commissioned his work had to be incorporated. Members of the Medici family can be spotted in some of Botticelli's religious paintings, like in the Adoration of the Magi, and the orange trees that cover the top part of the Primavera painting are a known symbol of the Medici family. The Medici family commissioned many frescoes, which are paintings on walls using wet plaster and water-based paint. In 1481, Botticelli, along with a handful of other artists, was summoned by Pope Sixtus IV to paint the life of Moses and the temptations of Christ in the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City. When Botticelli's work began to lose popularity, with it went his confidence and cheerfulness. He became depressed and shut himself in. Botticelli could have lived the rest of his years very comfortably off of his numerous commissions, but he was irresponsible with his spending. Giorgio Vasari says, "He earned much, but wasted everything through negligence and lack of management. Finally, having grown old and useless, and being forced to walk with crutches, without which he could not stand upright, he died, infirm and decrepit, at the age of 65. He never wed because marriage was something he considered to be nightmarish. He had no known children. Botticelli's life still lives on in his artwork. He established himself early on and continued to prove his talents throughout his life. His artwork reflects a mixture of romanticism, religion, and mythology to a degree unmatched by his contemporaries. Botticelli's impeccable attention to detail is what really set him apart from the artists around him. His work is symbolic, it's sensual, and it's full of care. No other artist could capture the lines of form as he did. He was remarkable, different, and full of life. Botticelli shall forever be remembered for the beauty he introduced to the world.